Well, it was a shocking moment at last night's Oscars that still has a lot of people talking. Will Smith slapping comedian Chris Rock after Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's bald head. But that joke now raising attention about alopecia, the hair loss condition Pinkett Smith suffers from. And we're joined by Dr. Emma Gutman, the director of Mount Sinai's Alopecia Center of Excellence. And Dr. Gutman, thank you so much for joining us. I know about 7 million Americans suffer from alopecia, but let's start out with what is alopecia for those who don't know, and how can it affect people?
Thank you so much for having me. So alopecia areata, and this is the condition she has, not just alopecia, is an autoimmune condition in which inflammatory molecules are basically attacking the hair follicle, and patients are losing either patches of hair or they're losing the entire body or entire scalp hair. And you can imagine how devastating it can be. And we are seeing here in this video a child patient of mine. It's devastating to the entire family if you have a child with alopecia, or to the patient, a huge emotional distress because the hair is our identity.
Yes, certainly. And we know that Jada Pinkett Smith has talked openly about this. Let me ask you this, doctor. Is there any way to cure or reverse the effects of alopecia?
Absolutely, and this is the hopeful message that I want to get here to patients with alopecia areata. If for many years we didn't have good treatments because we didn't have good targets, me and the other researchers at the Mount Sinai, we formed the Center of Excellence. We are now focusing full force ahead to find a cure for this disease. Already we have some new targets, and they are clinical trials that work well in patients, and we are working very hard to find additional targets so that we really will have a cure for this disease soon. And we see patients growing hair now, which is exciting.
Okay, so there's no cure yet, but you're still working on that. So is there a certain segment of the population that is more impacted by this autoimmune disease than others?
So it's impacting both male and female, and it impacts all ethnicities. So we see both African Americans and European Americans. The entire population can be affected. Usually stress is a big factor. We see patients that had a death in the family that lose all their hair, or patients that have the COVID infection, for example. Unfortunately, that's another trigger, and we see more and more patients. But while there is not yet a cure, we have now treatments that are growing hair in our patients, but they need to be taken all the time. So we try to find better and better treatments that are safe to be taken all the time, while we are still searching for a cure, maybe a drug that can be taken for a while, and then patients may not need to take it for the entire life. But there are treatments out there that we can offer patients in clinical trials and also in practice.
Okay, doctor, thank you so much. There was a lot more ground I wanted to get to, certainly about the psychological impacts. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. I know this is something that's very difficult for people. But, at least, out of this terrible situation that happened at the Oscars, at least we're shining a spotlight on a real serious matter. So thank you so much for your time and offering clarity on the issue of alopecia. Thank you again.
Much.